Welcome, everybody. I'd like to, well, excuse me. I'd like to welcome you to the University of Ottawa presentation on using enterprise architecture to support digital transformation at the university. And right now we are fortunate to have three speakers going to be giving parts of the presentation. The first one's Martin Barnier. He's the Chief Information. What we're going to do is, I apologize, the lag time when I've got two speakers unsynchronized. Anyways, Martin Barnier is the Chief Information Officer at the University of Ottawa. He started in April of 2018. He's got more than 25 years experience in the field of information technology and organizational transformation. And he's worked in both North American and European public and private sectors. Okay, before that, Ilva Pecki is the Interim Senior Director, IT Solutions at the University of Ottawa, and she has more than 17 years of IT experience, and she's led a lot of high-performance teams in both the private and public sectors as well. She is an MSc candidate in the Digital Transformation and Innovation Program at the University of Ottawa. And then we have Stephanie Herrera, who's the business architect at the University of Ottawa. She's a senior business analyst and as well, and she has 15 years experience in IT business analysis and process improvement. She is certified business analysis professional and CSPO, and has successfully contributed to a wide range of projects. Okay, for that. She joined the office in 2019 in the CIO office as a business architect. Now, without further ado, I turn it over to you, and I'm looking very much forward to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I'm really pleased to be here today to give you maybe what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the context of this presentation, and again, the team will give you all the all the material, all the information, and so on. I'm just here to give you the context. I think you need to have the context to really appreciate where my teams are, what they have achieved so far regarding enterprise architecture. I'm always impressed, and one thing I need to say, I'm really impressed when I see over than 80 people attending our architecture review board. That's always a challenge when you're trying to interest people within the organization. When you see people showing up and to be interested to know about what's happening in enterprise architecture within the organization, for me, it's really interesting. That's an achievement. Enterprise architecture for me, it's a real journey. It's difficult to explain, and it's really difficult to start the journey and so on. And this presentation, I think it's really interesting. They're going to give you more the step-by-step what we have accomplished. Yes, we have many principles, we have many guidelines, many standards, but at the end, I think for me, we need to keep in mind it's always about the organization. It's about your organization. It's about your business, and I think that's most of the time. Sometimes we're losing track of that. And for me, the key aspect is also it's the people in your organization. And my recommendation: don't work in silo, work in collaborations. So as Bob was mentioning, I joined university 4 years ago. We have started our EA journey like 4 years ago without anyone. It's really, I need to specify, when I came on board, I chair personally the first architecture review board for a few months. And maybe I should say I relaunched the ERB after a previous attempt 2-3 years ago. But people was aware about the principle, but nothing more than the general principle about EA. A lot of people was asking me about, okay, what is EA? What is your vision? What is your mindset? And so on. So my first move I've done when I joined university with the enterprise architecture was to give access to everyone. And people will say, what are you doing? I say, it's architecture. This is for the organization. This is for everyone. So the first thing I said, I say, there's no restricted access. Everybody's interested, can participate to ERB, can participate to our enterprise. And we gave also access, like open by default, to everyone. All the documentation, all the meeting was open to everyone within the organization. But also it's interesting because also some participants from outside the organization also join us like time to time. People are always interested. It's fine. Let's architecture. It's the organization, but if you're interested to get more information, come and join the discussion. you'll see in this presentation, we build our EA practice brick by brick. It's really, for me, that's a challenge. Usually EA, it's when you have the full wall that you have the benefit, but you need to put the bricks by bricks to be able to get where you need to be. It's also resource by resource to convince every resource about what is the benefit of EA, what they should do, how they should participate to EA, and so on. It's also project by project. We use every project as an opportunity to challenge about how could we leverage EA within our organization. And one thing also, it's you need to start with a good governance. And for me, a good governance, it's also open by default. People need to understand what you're trying to accomplish. Our EA is more mature today. It's not perfect, but you'll see it's more mature. The people, we're more mature because the people are getting more and more mature with the concept. But it's not just the IT people, it's also the organization as a whole who's more aware about enterprise architecture. And it's interesting because now we used to refer EA on our daily projects. So it's not just like something we're doing in silo, coming out like every 6 months and so on. Every project have the EA component. And again, so you'll be able to see the influence and the value of the EA in our ERP project. That's really a key project for us. And I'm going to finish my intro, but I need to give you my best advices. You know, I've been involved in EA for, I don't know, 15 years, but you need to get your people and your organization with the right mindset about EA before you're going too far. I think most of the time people are going too far. Make sure people are following you. If they're not following you, go back and make sure they're going to follow you and in your EA journey. Take the time to share some example with your organization. I really like to make analogy with the what I call the physical world about urban planning and architecture. I like to talk about like using like highway, roads, building, electricity, or just like a simple house. Like you building a solution. This is a house. You need to think about the wall. You need to think about the windows. You need to think about the electricity, the water pipe. And usually people say, okay, this is getting more concrete for them. And it's taking time to build and implement an efficient framework. You need to start with your principle. What are your EA principles to start? That's something we need to share. One of my first principles was user-centric design. Without that, for me, nothing exists. You're doing everything for your user. For me, that should be one of the first one. I know people are using different terminology and so on, but for me, that's really a key one. And finally, enjoy the presentation from my amazing team. You need to get the support from your management. This is another key element. And as you can see, they have my full support since day one. So enjoy, and I'm passing to Stephanie or Ilva.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thanks, Martin, for the support in the last few years and helping institute the EA practice at the university. We're excited to share this with you, and without further ado, I'll let Stephanie take it on and get us started on the presentation.
Excellent. So good morning, everyone, and thank you again for taking the time to join us for our presentation today. And so let's get started on walking you through our EA journey. So more agile, more connected, more impactful, more sustainable. These are the 4 pillars of Transformation 2030, the University of Ottawa's strategic plan to meet challenges, seize opportunities, and thrive in a rapidly changing digital world. Our role in IT is to ensure we enable this vision through technology that delivers business value and supports the strategic objectives of the university. Our digital campus transformation plan aims to ensure the technology we deliver is aligned with Transformation 2030. But in a large, decentralized organization, how do we establish alignment across the university community? How do we improve the quality of our decision-making? How do we ensure our IT projects are focused on the right outcomes? And how do we gain visibility into our current state to plan for new IT initiatives, rationalize the IT landscape, and ensure business continuity? It all starts with communication, collaboration, and a common understanding. And this is where enterprise architecture can bring value. So our EA journey has not been straightforward. We did not begin with a clear roadmap that would guide us every step of the way. We have learned through trial and error and have had to adapt and change course. Building a successful enterprise architecture practice can seem daunting at first, but the key is to take the first step and adjust as you go. So over the last few years, we have matured our governance and collaboration practices, established a set of EA principles to guide our architecture decisions, built a business capability model to create a common language and shared vision, moved EA out of theory and into practice by using EA artifacts to drive our ERP replacement and other initiatives, built a technology reference model that is being used to define our IT standards and manage the IT lifecycle, started to explore capability-based planning so we can link strategy with execution, and we have taken great strides in formalizing our EA framework. So today we would like to share with you some of these accomplishments. Next slide, please. So our EA journey began in earnest in 2019. It was the year the University Information Governance Council, or UIGC, and its 3 subcommittees came to life at UOttawa, providing a university-wide governance structure to ensure transparency, increased collaboration, campus-wide alignment, and maximize institutional value from technology investments and practices. This was also the year where UOttawa got a new enterprise architect, Marianne Welke-Lesage, filled with enthusiasm, a human-centric approach, and a mandate to move UOttawa forward towards digital transformation. Our architecture review board took on a new life and energy, becoming a forum for collaboration and knowledge sharing between faculties and services in IT, helping to improve the quality of our architecture decisions. And in parallel, our newly emerging architecture working group was formed to collaborate on building an enterprise architecture framework, including reference models, policies, and standards. It started out with architects from the business, application, infrastructure, and security domains, and has since grown to include data, information, and solution architects as well. Next slide, please. So the first task of the architecture working group was to brainstorm a set of EA principles. Through several collaborative sessions that included both architects and students, a set of 11 principles emerged representing the different architecture domains. These enterprise principles are now used to guide all architecture decisions. IT projects that are reviewed by the ARB must show alignment with these principles. Next slide, please. So as we collaborated to develop our set of EA principles, work was being done in parallel on UOttawa's business capability model. Before we look at our model in more detail, let's take a quick look at what business capabilities and business capability models are. So business capabilities essentially provide a high-level view of what an institution does from a business perspective. They are relatively stable, long-term, and unique. They tend not to change over time unless the organization's business model changes. They are structured in a hierarchical manner, but they do not represent an institution's organizational structure. And a business capability model basically takes an organization's set of business capabilities and puts them into a structured visual format. So why are business capability models important for a successful enterprise architecture practice? Because they create a common language and a shared vision that facilitates dialogue between IT and the business, helping to ensure better value and better business outcomes. So if we look on the left, you can see a one-page view of the UOttawa Higher Education Capability Model, showing at a high level what the University of Ottawa does. You can see that the capabilities are stable and long-term. For example, the university does teaching and learning and student enrollment, and this will not change from one day to the next unless the university's business model changes. You can see that the model is organized in a hierarchical manner. For example, you have teaching and learning, research, and human resources as level 1 capabilities. Under teaching and learning, you can see level 2 capabilities, such as student admission and student enrollment. You will also notice that the model separates core capabilities from supporting capabilities. Core capabilities are those most closely tied to delivering value to an organization's end customers. Supporting capabilities are those that are important for supporting the delivery of the core capabilities. And you can also see that we have called the model the Higher Education Capability Model, or HECM, to highlight the educational nature of the university. But essentially, business capabilities and higher education capabilities mean the same thing. One last important point is to understand that while business capabilities are about what an organization does, they are enabled through a combination of people, process, and technology, which is the how. So for example, the student enrollment capability will remain stable as something that is done at UOttawa, but the people that deliver the capability, the processes used, or the technology that enables it may change with greater frequency. This is why the stable nature of capabilities serve as an anchor and are ideal for linking various components of an organization that change over time. Next slide, please. So here we have a more detailed view of the UOttawa Higher Education Capability model. Our model is currently stored in Confluence. We have a simple one-page version that you saw on the previous slide, as well as more detailed versions like the one you see here. So the detailed version breaks down all the capabilities to level 1 and level 2, whereas the one-page version only breaks down the core capabilities to level 2. It is possible in Confluence to then drill down to the level 3 capabilities from level 1 and 2. And there are also definitions displayed for all capabilities at each level. So for example, from the level 1 capability, teaching and learning, you can drill down to see the level 2 capabilities such as student enrollment and its associated level 3 capabilities such as course selection management. And for each of these capabilities, there's a detailed description. So the UOttawa HECM was built based on industry reference models such as CODIT, USICA, and Infotech, and has been adapted along the way. Initially, we reached out to a set of stakeholders for their feedback to see if in general the model made sense and if we were missing anything critical. We also started mapping our business capabilities to our business software inventory list. This helped us to further refine the capability model and to identify gaps. And by working closely with the Administrative Services Modernization Program, we were able to have the stakeholder engagement required to identify in more detail the university's resource management and finance capabilities. The idea is going forward, we will continue to evolve our model as we collaborate with stakeholders on different projects. Next slide, please. So I will now provide an overview on how we have begun to incorporate our business capabilities into our enterprise architecture and project management practices. So we start by talking about business capabilities at the idea stage when we build our roadmaps. We then reference them in our initiative intake forms and in our business and technical architecture documentation. And finally, we link them to business software in our asset inventory once the solution has been put in place. Next slide, please. So I will now go through each of these phases in more detail. As mentioned previously, capabilities are first introduced in our roadmaps. This year, we mapped all initiatives on our product-based roadmaps to the capabilities they enhance or create. This was a first step towards helping our clients become more comfortable with thinking of their service offerings in terms of business capabilities. The longer-term goal is to use the model as a collaboration and communication tool for asking key questions such as, what business capabilities should we enhance or enable through technology in the next few years, thus allowing us to build strategic capability-based roadmaps. On the right, you see an example of a capability-based roadmap. We are still in the process of determining what we want our standard template to look like, but regardless of the specific template we choose, it will need to be organized around capabilities. So in this sample roadmap, you can see the current state capabilities on the left and the systems that enable them. You can see all the planned initiatives required to transform those capabilities and the systems that enable them in the future state. Now let's look at the connection between the higher education capability model and the capability-based roadmap. Both capability models and roadmaps help to envision the future state. Business capability models help to identify capabilities that should be focused on as part of the strategy. They help to decide where future IT investment should go. Capability-based roadmaps are focused on planned IT initiatives and help to decide when these investments should be made. So business capabilities through capability-based roadmaps help to link strategy to execution by helping to achieve alignment between IT investments and long-term business outcomes, by allowing for proper scheduling of IT initiatives, and by better synchronization of business and IT related plans. Next slide, please. So funded initiatives on the roadmap go on to become University Information Governance Council initiatives and follow our project management framework. Business capabilities identified for each project help IT managers and business owners to share a high-level understanding of what is in scope for the project and sets the stage for more detailed requirements analysis in later stages. Furthermore, by analyzing our full list of UIGC initiatives by business capability, the Project Portfolio Management Office will be able to help the university validate that UIGC investments are focused on strategically important capabilities. Next slide, please. Next, business capabilities are referenced in our architecture documentation and are also presented to the Architecture Review Board. This helps to ensure the high-level scope is shared with a broader audience and provides an opportunity to identify other stakeholders who may have similar needs. And next slide, please. And finally, by the end of the project, we have identified and implemented a business software solution that will enable or enhance the identified business capabilities. The new business software becomes part of our inventory, linked to the business capabilities that it supports, and can potentially be leveraged by other clients in the future with similar needs. This slide shows an example of how we have started to link our business software in our asset inventory to the business capabilities that they support. Next slide, please. So in summary, we have started to use our business capabilities to maximize the value of our IT investments. So by identifying the business capabilities that will be enhanced or created by our IT projects and comparing to strategic business capabilities identified as part of Transformation 2030 and our Digital Campus Transformation Plan, we can assess if our IT investments are focused on the right things. To rationalize our IT landscape, we can use our business software inventory mapped to business capabilities to look for opportunities to reuse existing applications or to eliminate redundant or legacy applications that do not bring value. To transform via our projects and initiatives, we can use business capabilities to better plan our initiatives through capability-based roadmaps, to better define and understand scope, and to identify where key strategic capabilities are enabled by weak or manual processes, thus identifying opportunities for automation. And finally, to optimize organizational structure by mapping business capabilities to the organizational units that enable them, we can identify areas of overlap, conflict, and understand where things are working well. Next slide, please. So in addition to the work done on the business capability model, we have also made significant progress in defining our overall EA framework. Before we look at the UOttawa framework, let's touch on what an enterprise architecture framework is and what are some of its benefits. So essentially, an enterprise architecture framework streamlines the process for creating and maintaining architectures at all levels and enables an organization to benefit by having greater reusability of existing investments, traceability of requirements, and consistency in implementation. A framework is used to help answer strategic investment questions, such as, are we doing the right things? Are we doing them the right way? Are we getting them done well? Are we getting the expected benefits? Overall, the main goal of an enterprise architecture framework is to address the basic challenges of assessing, aligning, and organizing business objectives with requirements and strategies, all of which are even more complex in a large decentralized organization. So our framework was derived from existing best practices, including Zachman, TOGAF, SAFE, and Federal Enterprise Architecture. It is classified into 4 categories of information: guidance, architecture domains, methods, and shared knowledge, and was built to be lightweight, relevant, predictable, and easy to maintain. The framework has the following characteristics: a common language to describe the architecture, an architecture description that describes the relationships between the architecture domains to investments and performance, effective methods, tools, and guidance for developing actionable architecture deliverables, governance and communication, and best practice-based solutions to build the common business and/or technical capabilities. Next slide, please. So another piece of our framework that we are actively working on is our technology reference model, or TRM. Our technology reference model is essentially a generic reference model that provides a list of technology capabilities organized in a hierarchical manner. At the most abstract level, we have the technology domain, which is broken down into technology areas and then into building blocks. The TRM does not identify specific products or vendors. It is independent of specific technology products. The building blocks, however, in the TRM can be mapped to specific technology products, and each product can then be classified according to its stage in the IT lifecycle. The building block, its associated technology product, and its stage in the IT lifecycle make up a technology brick. Technology bricks that have a life cycle status of invest become IT standards and should be used to design solutions. Next slide, please. So here's an example of our technology reference model list. We are still working on the visual model and making some adjustments to our categories. But this gives you an idea what our TRM currently looks like. So for example, if we look at lines 99 to 101, we see that we have the technology domain information management technologies. This is broken down into the technology area, business intelligence, and data warehouse platforms, which is further broken down into the data analytics building block. You can see that the data analytics building block is mapped to 3 different technology products: Oracle BI, Power BI, and SAS, each of which have been mapped to their stage in the IT lifecycle. Looking at the life cycle of each of these 3 technology bricks, we would see that Power BI is marked as being in the invest stage, making it our IT standard for use in designing new solutions. So that's a little bit about our EA journey, and I'm going to turn it over to Ilva now. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for taking us through the journey that we followed at the university with the Enterprise Architecture Framework and many of the artifacts that we have put in place since 2019. The EA framework can be an abstract concept for many of us. So what I'd like to do today is discuss what we're doing and how we're practically using the framework in our day-to-day work. So I'm going to walk you through 3 practical examples on how we're leveraging the EA framework. And then I would like to recap with the overall benefits, what we've seen since the implementation of this framework at the University of Ottawa. The first practical usage that I'd like to start with is the application of the capability model to our planning and organizing of work in the Workday program. As many of you may be aware, the university is in the midst of an ERP implementation for HR and finance. In this case, we've used our capability model to map the current state, desired future state, and of our HR and finance capabilities. Here, for illustration purposes, we're just showing the current state. This process helped a lot in defining the overall program scope and all the capabilities that we would need to keep, decommission, and the capabilities that we'd like to enhance with the new system. By using this approach, our planning process became much easier. As you can imagine, an ERP implementation is no small feat. This approach facilitated better collaboration amongst cross-functional teams, as everyone was speaking the same language, and it also became quite clear which capabilities we wanted to keep, enhance, and decommission. So this is definitely one use case where it proved to be very successful in using the EA framework and in a way to efficiently plan our projects. The second example that I would like to take you through is the example of our One Card program. So this is a business capability of the card printing at the University of Ottawa. Here we're talking about the ability to print student cards, employee cards, or any visitors cards on campus. So in this case, we're able to leverage the same business capability through implementing the same solution and using the same technology building blocks for different services of the university. Here we have our One Card office, where they're responsible for printing the student cards, the employee cards, the HR office, as well as the student services printing the visitor cards. By being able to use the EA framework in this case and the governance process that we've put in place, we were able to be more cost effective because now we're using one solution. In addition, we also streamlined our security requirements and will also increase collaboration among different sectors in the university. As a result, we'll replace 3 different tools with one in the end. And obviously, without the EA framework and the governance that we've put in place, we wouldn't have been able to achieve all these benefits that we have. And this is another successful usage of the enterprise architecture that we have at the university. The third example is a practical use case and a new concept that we have started to wrestle with right now, recently. And it relates more around the ability to realign our teams to be more product driven and organized by business capabilities. So once again, here we've used the higher education capability model to help group our capabilities in 3 main areas. So we're looking at core capabilities, strategic, and more operational. And based on this, we've wrestled with this notion of having product teams that are assigned to support our supporting our or building our solutions. The main benefits of this alignment at the organizational level would be to streamline the way we deliver the capabilities at institutional IT to fulfill our business needs. This structure would also help us scale faster when acquiring new capabilities for the future. In addition, this will also ensure that we work the same way in the different groups, and the teams deliver the same capabilities by working in the same way. So in summary, to recap as well on what Stephanie and Martin said, with implementing the EA framework at the University of Ottawa, we've been able to advance our digital transformation and have the following benefits as discussed. Definitely, we've improved our collaboration across campus, our capability roadmap that we used to plan and manage our workday program. It's pulled in different people from different units of the university. Our architecture review board has become our landing board for building the IT community and the university, be that from institutional IT or decentralized IT teams. It's definitely helped us rationalize applications, streamline and have less technical footprint on campus. It's definitely has brought us operational efficiencies. One of these examples is actually aligning our org structure to the capability model itself. Obviously, security is definitely a big piece in there as well. By rationalizing applications, less technical footprint, security requirements are the same as well. We have less code to be worried about from a security perspective, or less solutions. And ultimately, we have cost-saving benefits, as we've seen with the card printing solution in all the different sectors at the university. That's pretty much, in summary, some of the more practical usages and the benefits that we've seen from implementing the enterprise architecture at the University of Ottawa. If you have any further questions or if you want to contact us, feel free. We would be eager to help share experiences and exchange ideas.
Well, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. Okay, very much appreciate. I really liked your analogy to urban planning. In France, they call it urbanisme, and you can't be, anyways, warms the cockles of my civil engineering heart. Okay, the great business-driven, capability-based planning, that's super, and delighted to see that that's being used. Now, if anybody has any questions, just put it in the question window. All the viewers have access to that. I've got one question for you. Okay. How much influence, but when you deal with capability-based planning, and I looked at your capability map, it was system. What happens if you feel the best system in the world, but the people haven't been trained up on it? What influence do you have to things that are external to CIO? I'm just curious how that works, because
So
sorry, bad question. You know,
No,
anyway,
I can
I don't mean
maybe
go ahead,
start
Stephanie.
with that, and then I don't know if Martin or anyone else wants to jump in, but I think, so again, we're just really starting out on this moving towards capability-based planning. We've started to, you know, like I said, map all of our IT initiatives just to start transforming our roadmaps to link them to capabilities and getting our clients familiar with them. So that's part of sort of that education. So that is one sort of example of how we're thinking of maybe, you know, we could structure our capability-based roadmap. But I like sort of what you're saying is that I think, you know, once you get to a certain maturity level, really your capabilities are about more than just technology, right? So when you're looking at maturing your capability, it's about that combination of the people, process, and technology. So you're going to be looking, you know, at what technology can enable a business capability, but you also need to think about the people and the process. So that's where I see that the people part comes in that you're talking about in terms of the training. So I think that's somewhere where we want to get as we start to mature, so that we're looking at it from a broader perspective and remembering and keeping to emphasize that it's not just technology that's going to make to make it the most to provide the most value. You need to look at all of those different pieces.
Okay, can I another question is,
Can I, Bob, can
go
I
ahead,
say
nothing.
something? Yeah, I would like to say, honestly, it's I think the biggest value we're able to bring at the table was the trust. It's going back. There's so many things you're trying to do. At the end, is to gain trust. You can have the best business capability model. You can have the best like mapping and so on. Is the trust is not there, you have nothing. I think what we were able to achieve was the trust. And more, I think people are more and more surprised. They say, oh, you know our business, you know our sector, you know what we're doing, you know where's the gaps, you know what the. I think for me it's really the trust, and that's maybe where it's the biggest value. But I think it's the biggest challenge in EA is how could you get that trust. And it's difficult because you're coming with all your concept, principle, all that stuff and so on, and people they don't trust you initially. I think that's how could you gain that trust? And I think that's where right now we have the trust. I'm always surprised the returning the question about, okay, what do you think we should do? And it's kind of like interesting because they say like, we're not the business, we're not the owner and so on, but that's what we see, that's what we can recommend and so on. I think the trust, and Stephanie was mentioning about people, everything is going back to people, establish a trust with people.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Martin.
I just like that was my my answer. I think for me that's I
Okay.
don't have anything else to add, but for me it's really it's the people aspect and the trust. It's really important. I think you need to do whatever you need to be able to establish that trust regarding EA within your organization.
There's one more question, and that'll be it for now. It's just that the Enterprise Architecture Review Board, does it only review IT projects, or does it review all projects that basically are part of the digital transformation?
So I'll say so right now, the projects that are being typically reviewed at the ARB are ones that come in through our intake process, and those that come in through our intake process are ones that have gone to our University Information Governance Council. So, you know, typically for those ones, there will be, you know, a piece in there where it does involve IT effort in some way. But I don't know if with maturity that would potentially evolved into a broader scope. But right now, what goes through the ARB are projects that have come in via our intake process with a piece that's enabled, or there's an effort involved with from IT.
Well, I'd like to thank Martin, Ylva, and Stephanie for giving an excellent presentation. And it's very much appreciated. And anyways, we wish you the best of luck. You certainly have the foundation for a very successful enterprise architecture place at the university. wish you all the best. Okay, thank you very much.
you.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Bye.